Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Monday, November 25th. It is Thanksgiving week. Going to be a little bit of a abbreviated week coverage-wise because we're probably not going to have anything Thursday or Friday. But early in the week, we'll continue talking about some big picture topics and then work towards, obviously, Jaguars and Texans. The Jaguars are still playing football this season, despite what it may look like on a week-to-week basis. They are coming off their bye week, obviously. Texans, they just lost to the Titans, and that impacts the Jaguars in the draft. That impacts division standings, impacts the Texans' fight for holding on to the division. So it's going to be a fun week, right? Did the mock offseason, kind of dream offseason on Friday, so why do we need another mock draft here today? Well, the draft order has changed. As I mentioned, the Titans, who were a 2-win team, won another football game. So they now have 3 wins. So they're now a game behind the Jaguars when it comes to the NFL draft. Game ahead of the Jaguars when it comes to the actual standings, right? So now there's only 3 2-win teams. The Jaguars, the Giants, and the Raiders. Giants and Raiders both lost this weekend. Giants got steamrolled. Raiders put up a little bit of a fight, especially in the first half against the Broncos. Tough game there. But 3, 2, and 9 teams. The Jaguars have the worst strength of schedule. So they are still sitting there in first. But the Giants are now second. The Raiders are third. Both of those teams look quarterback needy. So that could certainly impact some things, impact the way this plays out. I also want to continue exploring different options for the Jaguars. Who knows what the regime is going to look like? Who's going to be making the decisions? Is anyone going to be fired? We don't know. But today, we're going to take a look at another option of the way things could play out. And this is going to be a good one for folks that have been obsessing, rightfully so, over trench play, both on offense and defense. This is going to be a good one for them. So Jaguars, like I mentioned, they still have the first overall pick. Trade down with the Raiders, who are at 3, who want to jump the Giants to get their preferred quarterback. So you move down to 3 and you acquire a second and a third round pick. Not a bad deal, right? And you still, because the Raiders and Giants both want quarterback, you still get who you want. And for me, if I'm making this decision right now, it is Travis Hunter. But again, we're focusing on different ways this could play out. And we've talked about Travis Hunter a ton with the Jaguars' first pick in the 2025 NFL draft. So we're going to go in a different direction here. Again, focus on the trenches. And if I'm being 100% honest, if there's a player you have to take that's a trench player, you know, offensive line, defensive line at 3 overall in the top 5, there's really only one guy I'm looking at. And that is Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham. Like, yes, a lot of folks like Kelvin Banks. I don't know that he has great length, and he has real bad balance issues right now. Will Campbell, I think, is a guard. He struggles with mirroring movements. He struggles with the quickness and lateral agility you need out there. And again, I think length is going to be an issue for him. You know, beyond that, where are you going at tackle? And then you're not taking a guard in all likelihood at 3 overall. I'm certainly not taking either of those guys over Mason Graham. So Mason Graham, the defensive lineman out of Michigan, we have talked about him a little bit. He's like 6'3", 320 pounds. He plays with great leverage. He is quick off the ball. I mean, he is lightning quick at that size, at 320 pounds. He's got good length on the interior. He's explosive. He's got all the hand moves, pass rush moves you could hope for. He's stout against the run. I think one of the coolest traits about him is his flexibility. And I'm not talking about versatility to play across the defensive front, which he can. He can absolutely anchor for you on the interior at nose. He can play 3-tech. He can even kick out to 5-tech. I'm talking about his flexibility within his frame. He could legitimately rush as a 5-tech. That's not what you want him to be doing consistently. But if you want him as a 5-tech against the run, he can absolutely do that. And he can bend at his size. Again, that's not what you want him to do primarily. I think his optimal position is 3-tech. lining up and trying to create penetration into the backfield, trying to create push, knife in there and disrupt the backfield against the run and the pass, right? I think Mason Graham is just such a stud. I have him as a blue chip prospect. There's not a whole lot you can poke at in terms of weaknesses in his game. So Mason Graham at 3 overall would be a lot of fun for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he would shore up that defensive front. Look, you probably are going to have Eric Armstead on the books next year unless you just trade him for pennies on the dollar. You can't release him. You're probably going to have Devon Hamilton as well. You obviously are going to have Mason Smith, Jordan Jefferson, but bringing in Mason Graham, I think he's going to start immediately and get significant reps. I think he's going to be your best defensive lineman from day one. Mason Graham's that good of a football player. So getting him at the 3rd overall pick, I would not be mad about that one bit. And again, we're staying in the trenches here. First 4 picks are the trenches. So all those folks worried about the offensive and defensive line, I hope this is going to make you happy, okay? Tyler Booker at 34 overall, the offensive guard out of Alabama. Look, this guy's only 20 years old. He's still got a lot of upward trajectory, but he is big. He is physical. 6'5", 325 pounds. He's quick off the ball. He's good at pulling. He's good at, these gap blocking assignments. He can frame up his blocks well. He's powerful. He's very, very good in pass protection as well from the guard spot. And again, there's just so much upward trajectory. I think that he's going to be a really strong starter in the NFL at guard. He's been playing left guard for Alabama. So if you want him to start in year 1, you're probably talking about flipping him over to the right side and playing right guard. But the way I look at it, most of these picks, they don't have to be year 1 starters. I want to have addressed our needs if I'm running the Jaguars in free agency. And the Jaguars have a ton of free agent spending money. They do for the short term. Obviously, long term, they don't want to be inking like a ton of 4-year deals or 5-year deals, because then you're starting to really play with fire with the Trevor Lawrence contract and Josh Hines-Allen and Tyson Campbell and these other guys and some young guys you're going to want, like Trayvon Walker, you're going to want to bring back, right? But if you're able to go into free agency and sign some veterans that are really good starters to 3-year deals that have a 2-year out, that's kind of what I'm looking at for the Jacksonville Jaguars this free agency cycle. And if you want to go for one splash for a really young player that you need to sign to like a 4-year deal, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it should be experienced veterans that are going to help your football team win right now. And so Tyler Booker, whether he's starting in year 1 or working as the primary backup at both guard spots, either way, I think you can feel really good about that and continue to develop the, again, 20-year-old prospect. At number 35 overall, because, again, we traded with the Raiders, edge, Princely Umanmielen. I couldn't feel comfortable taking an edge early on, not because there's not one worth it. I think Abdul Carter is absolutely worth it in the top 3. But when you have Josh Hines-Allen on his 2nd contract, which is a mammoth deal, and you have Trayvon Walker as the 1st overall pick and another guy who, he could be up for an extension after this year, right? I don't think you're investing a 1st-round pick in somebody who's going to be a backup for a long time. But at 35 overall, with the 3rd pick for your team in the draft, getting a rotational edge who provides a really nice pivot, because, Princely Umanmielen, he's not small at edge. He's not one of these like 235 to 240, 245 pound edge players. He's 255. He could play at 260. So like, he's not small, but he provides more bendiness and quickness off the ball than probably Josh Hines-Allen or Trayvon Walker do. He's a really good athlete in his own right who has good length, and he's been very productive at Ole Miss this year. He's been productive for several years, going back to his Florida days. But he's got pretty much everything you could ask for from an edge rusher. He's got a big bag of pass rush moves. He's got an inside spin counter that's absolutely devastating. He can bend around the arc. He's a really talented player. I think he should be a first-round pick in this class. I don't have a first-round grade on him, but I think he should be a top 32 pick. So getting him at 35 would represent some value. I'd be really excited about that. Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss by way of Florida. And again, he is your change-up pass rusher. You need pass rush in waves in today's NFL. So I would be fired up about that. And then at number 66 overall, we've got offensive tackle Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. He plays left tackle for them. Looking at his arm length, that'll be definitely called into question. That'll be something to monitor, but he's a really good athlete. He has absolutely dominated at that level. I mean, dominated. His grades are outrageous. His stats are outrageous. Like, I think he's allowed like 5 pressures all year this year, something like that. You saw him play against Colorado, probably the biggest school they play against, and do a really good job. And so, again, if I'm drafting him, whether it's to play left tackle or kick inside long term, or maybe Anton Harrison play left tackle and Gray Zabel develop at right tackle, I'm not drafting a tackle at this spot to start in year one. It's to be a long-term starter. Okay. We're whether it's Walker Little or, Garrett Bowles or name your guy. Like, we're having a veteran that can come in and start in 2025 at tackle. So that's the bottom line if I'm running things. Now, got to remind y'all, check out Underdog Fantasy for Pick'em and a whole lot more. You can use code Duval Daily, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash Pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit on Underdog's easy-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. This season, Underdog is running specials, promos, bonuses almost every single day, like profit boosts. You can pump up your winnings in just a tap when you apply the boost to eligible entries. Tons of options coming up for Jaguars and Texans throughout the week. You're going to be able to look at a lot of different pick'ems as Murray's trying to say hello. She's having a rough morning. But yeah, Jags and Texans, you want to pick up a running back to score. Underdog has vulture protection to rescue your pick'em. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Duval Daily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8 Hope NY or text Hope NY 467-369. All right, we've got a lot of picks to get to, so we're going to fly through these a little bit. At 69, we're going away from the trenches here a little bit, folks, and we're not done, but we're going away from the trenches. Cornerback Jaden Barron out of Texas. He has played all over the place at Texas throughout his career. This season, he's been playing outside a ton and doing it at an extremely high level. I think this is a player that could be super versatile for you on the back end. He's a willing tackler. He's got great ball skills. He's quick. He's fluid. I think Jaden Barron's going to be a starter in the NFL for a long time, and he can play outside. He can play nickel. He's even aligned at safety some for them. So Jaden Barron out of Texas, a really fun football player that I think can just help your secondary, and the Jaguars secondary needs a lot of help. Again, should be addressed heavily in free agency, but long term, helping you out in a big way. And probably in the short term, I think he could come in and contribute right away. 92, wide receiver Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. I love this guy. We've talked about him a little bit on the channel here. He is 6'4", 215, but he's a pro route runner. He can sink his hips and get in and out of transitions a lot better than you would expect for his size. Not going to be a burner, right? But good route runner for his size, great hands, great physicality. He's able to use his physicality at the catch point and throughout routes. And he's not, drawing offensive pass interference. He's not extending his arms, but he's able to use his physicality to lean into defenders, to get that elbow to create some separation, right? He's a savvy football player. So you love that about him, and great catch point skills, super productive. He's the type of chain mover I think could really help this Jaguars offense. They've been lacking that, quite frankly, outside of like an Evan Ingram since Marvin Jones. And I honestly think Marvin Jones has been the best catch point player that the Jaguars have had during Trevor Lawrence's career. Jaden Higgins is going to change that, and he's going to change that in a big way. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr., your field stretcher, your guy with the speed, the athleticism, the length, all that stuff, you're number one. But Jaden Higgins, I think, would be a really good complement to Brian Thomas Jr. At 102, I want to create some more competition in the backfield. Like I plan on adding, guard talent, tackle talent to help improve that run game and coach it up a lot better than we have. But I think adding some talent to the backfield could also help in that regard because, quite frankly, Travis Etienne, he has struggled to find the holes consistently throughout his career. And I think that Tank Bigsby, while he's shown a lot of development, you could just use some more competition, some more depth. I think Dearness Johnson, he's fine, but you could upgrade there. And so at 102, I love running back Trayon Henderson. I love this draft class at running back. I think it's going to be fantastic. So getting some value here early on day 3, I think is exciting. And Trayon Henderson is a 3-down back, right? Great pass blocker, great pass catcher, somebody who can run routes at a wide receiver level. And then you talk about him as a running back. He's averaging over 7 yards a carry this year. He's, about 5'10", 210 pounds. He's physical. He's explosive. He's low to the ground. He's got great quickness and agility. He's got vision, patience. I think Trayon Henderson, if you were able to get him at this point in the draft, would be tremendous value and somebody who really would push because he's going to come in and be doing the right things early on. He's certainly a better pass protector and pass catcher than Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby. So I'd love that pick. At 129, edge Jared Ivey. Look, we talked about him last week. He's a big boy, and he's more analogous to Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen with his size, over 280 pounds. He can certainly move around the formation and rush from different spots for you, but getting him in here and, again, pairing him with Princely Umanmielen and who he plays with right now, you're starting to have some cohesion with these young guys, and you're able to play a lot of different games up front and really pass rush in waves. I would absolutely love that. At 141, we're going for a player who should be a day 2 pick, but he hasn't been able to play this year due to an ACL tear in the spring. So safety Rod Moore out of Michigan, he has shown consistent ball skills throughout his career, can play free, can play single high, can play 2 high, good tackler, good ball skills, smart football player. Unfortunately hasn't been able to play this year, so we're getting him at a value on day 3 here, and I think he could be a potential starter. So that could be one of the steals of the draft if he's able to get healthy and get right and continue progressing throughout his career. At 178, again, I want competition at running back. I don't want these jobs to be handed to anyone, and this running back class is so deep. I absolutely love running back Damian Martinez out of Miami, and he's a young guy too. Plays like a seasoned vet, but he's a young runner. Not going to be a burner by any stretch of the imagination, but his patience and vision combined with his power and his ability to make guys miss at the second level, I love it. I think he's just a fantastic football player who's going to make your football team a lot better. And look, if you have to keep 4 running backs, keep 4 running backs. I don't think that's a negative thing in this modern NFL. And look, part of the focus on the trenches here, so many teams lining up in these 2 high shells, you've got to be able to consistently run on them. And if you can't, it makes it so much more difficult on your passing game. And we've seen that this year. And so getting Trayon Henderson and Damian Martinez, who are 2 pros already, in my opinion, they're playing the game like professionals at the college level, and then upgrading the interior of the offensive line, upgrading tackle, I would like that a lot, just to be able to establish more of a physical presence on the ground. And Damian Martinez certainly helps you in that regard. At 195, another player we've talked about a little bit last week, quarterback Riley Leonard. Look, back into the draft here. You're winding down, only got a few picks left. Riley Leonard, develop him, right? Behind Trevor Lawrence, compete with CJ Beathard or whoever you have as a backup veteran. He's got unbelievable athleticism. One of the things I've always loved about some teams is how they keep passers that can come in or backups that can come in and really contribute with the ground game. And when you can do that, it helps you survive these stretches where maybe you have a quarterback that's injured, not able to play, your starting quarterback. when you can really supplement the ground game with that backup, and you need your defense to step up, you need everybody to step up around them. But Riley Leonard, I think he has talent as a passer, but he really is a obviously great athlete, big time frame and athleticism, a good runner. I think he would be an interesting developmental player. At 217, we've got edge Q Robinson, adding another edge to compete. Look, Miles Cole, you're going to have to earn your roster spot, buddy. I'm sorry. Edge Q Robinson out of Alabama. He's more of that speed guy. Super fast, super quick. I think he has good length. Doesn't get as much recognition because Alabama has had so many talented rushers throughout the last couple years, but pretty good football player who I think can certainly fight to make the roster, and if not, somebody you would like to develop on your practice squad. And then 256 wide receiver Elijah Badger just had a big game a couple weeks ago, and I think maybe this past weekend too. Elijah Badger, though, developmental player, got good athleticism, decent size, out of Florida. Is he going to make the roster? Probably not. Is anybody you're going to select at 256 going to make the roster? Probably not. So we'll see. We'll see about this one, but wanted to add another receiver potentially to continue to compete. Maybe he can add some speed, athleticism, and I'm sick of kind of seeing the back end of the roster not as competitive at receiver as it should be. And not for lack of trying, but bringing Elijah Badger or someone of that ilk at the back end of the draft and see if they can, really create some competition there at the back end. That's going to do it for this mock draft. Again, we established the trenches. We went after the ground game in a big way on both sides. We're also upgrading the pass rush a lot and adding some different pieces here and there, cornerback, wide receiver, running back. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Again, this is to explore different options, different ways that the Jaguars could potentially attack this thing. And don't forget about the free agency money that they have. They should spend a lot of that capital upgrading the roster before the draft. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Become a channel member here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one.